Hey there everyone, it's Ravindra here back with another video, and in this video we are going to learn about a state management library which is called Ngrx, and it follows the Redux pattern. With the help of this library we can access our state globally. If you find this video helpful, then please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed this channel, then hit that subscribe button also. So let's get started. So let's take a quick demo of this project. What we are going to learn here, so we will create multiple modules. So here it is a counter module. It is a very bare minimum example where we can learn about his state. So here our initial state is 0. When I press on increment button, state is changing, and on decrement button state is also changing. When I click on reset, state is set to the 0. Now we have created another thing here. It is a product section, and here we are adding these records to the state. So it is global state, so we won't lose this data. And if I click on this remove button, everything is managing perfectly fine. But these changes are not persistent. It means once we refresh it, it will be lost. So we need to add these records to the database. For that we need effects along with Ngrx store. So in this user section we are fetching this data from the database. You can see these changes are persistent. So let's remove this data, and when I refresh it, you can see that the data has been deleted. And if I click on this button, the data will be added. So the data is adding on the store as well as to the database, and on remove, data is adding to the store as well as removing from the store as well as removing from the database through the HTTP services. So it is how we are going to, it is what we are going to make in this tutorial. So let's create a new project. Type here ng new ngrx demo minimal routing and style equals to scss. So let's talk about these flags. First thing is here this minimal, and writing this flag, our project will be created with minimal structure. It means when we create a new component, it will not create a HTML file and a CSS file for that. It will only create a TypeScript file for that. So if you need a project with minimal structure, like you do not want to add unnecessary file for just a demo project like spec.ts file and HTML and CSS file, and you want to do everything in a single component file which is a TypeScript file, then use the minimal flag, otherwise remove this flag. Next thing is routing. It will enable routing for us, and style equals to scss. It means we are going to use the scss in this project. So press enter and it will create a project for you. Once your project is created, type here code and the name of project, which is ngrx demo here. Press enter and it will open your project in Visual Studio Code. So press enter here and it will open this project in Visual Studio Code. So it is our brand new project here, and as you can see that we have a very minimal structure here. We have only app.component.ts file, and everything is defined here, HTML and CSS also. So let's remove this boilerplate code from here and just type here hi and press. Let's use these symbols or emojis. Now let's run this project. Let's see. So for that, let's type here ngs and it will open it in a browser. Now our project is working fine, as you can see hi here, and let's close this thing for now. Let's open the official website of ngrx.io. Then move here in the getting started section, and we have all the concepts related to the Ngrx here. So let's go here in the diagram section and let's understand is what is happening here. So we have lots of terms here: the store, reducer, action, component, selector, and these other things like effects and services. We are not going to talk about effects and services here. So let's talk about the left portion first. So let's understand this term store. Any state that we need in our project is stored in a store. Let's take an example. Suppose we have a cart that we need to manage, then cart state is stored in a Ngrx store. Now we need to access that state in our component. Possibly you want to display your cart in the component. For that you need a pure function which is called selector. With the help of the selector we can access the pieces of store. Now we want to display the cart in our component, so we will use some kind of selector for accessing the cart from the Ngrx store. Now you want to add or remove data in your cart. For that we need some unique events called actions. We will dispatch an action from the component. Now we will move to the reducer and logic changing of the state will be defined here. So reducers are the pure functions that take the current state and the latest action to compute a new state. One thing is to be noted here, that state is immutable. It means you cannot change it. It means if you want to add or delete some data from it, you have to recreate it every time. Now we are not going to talk about the effects right now because it will get a little bit confusing. So let's go here and let's see from where we can install the packages. So let's find that thing. Okay, so here we have this link: detailed installations instructions can be found in installation page. Okay, so here we need to install these things. So let's copy this guy and go to your project and let's stop this server for now and close it. Okay, so just paste it here: ng add @ngrx store @latest, and it will install the Ngrx store for us. Okay, so it is asking, I'm gonna type here y. So it is successfully installed, and now we will try to understand all these concepts through some code, and you will get more comfortable when you write some actual code. Otherwise you're gonna get very much confused. So let's write some code. For that we need to create a folder here. Let's name it state folder. So let's type here state. Now we have created this folder. Inside that we will create another folder which is, let's see, counter. We are going to start with bare minimum example, and after that we will create some more complex things. So let's create a new file here and name it counter.actions.ts. Okay, so let's create some actions here. So first of all we need to import this create action from Ngrx store, and we are going to create some actions here. So first one will be increment. For that we need to write here create action, and here we will assign a unique ID. So in that case our ID is component, counter component, increment. And do not worry about this naming, it's too long and it's unique. You can assign any name here. You can just assign a string here, that increment, but that string should be unique so that we can uniquely identify our actions. So it is a better naming conventions that is defined by the Ngrx actual documentation. So here the name of our component and the name of action. So our component will be counter and action will be increment here. We will create another action here for decrement and everything will be same, but we will change the name decrement. And one more thing we need here, a reset action. We'll create and just change the name from decrement to reset here. So we are good so far and we have created our action. Now we need to create one more file here inside this state section, which is counter.reducer.ts. So once you have created this file, we need to write some reducers here. So first import these things, create reducer and on, and import counter actions here from the counter.actions file that we have created recently here, the counteractions.ts. What we are basically doing here, we are importing everything from the counter actions and we are assigning it to counter actions so that we can access it through this, what we can say, that this object. So after that we will create an initial state which will be 0 because initially our counter will be 0. Now we need to create a reducer function here which will be counter reducer. For that we need to assign it a create reducer. We will pass initial state here. Now we will create it with the help of on function and we will define an action first, which is an increment. It means we are defining a pure function for increment. So here we will write the actual logic, how we are going to change the state of counter on the dispatch of this increment action. So for that we will just write here, we will pass a state. We will pass, actually we are not passing here, it is just a syntax. So it is taking up one argument state which is number in our case, and the initial or state is a 0, so it means the state is 0 and we are incrementing it by 1. So when we will click on increment button, this increment action will immediately dispatched, then it will go to its reducer and reducer will increment our state by 1. So we will do the same with decrement. So here is decrement function and actually it is increment, so I need to change it. I will change it later. So just type here decrement. So now it is our decrement function which is taking one argument state and is decrementing our state here by 1, and here is reset. That will, what we are doing here, we are just replacing our state with 0. So that's it for the reducers. Now we have created our reducers, we have to register them somewhere. So we are going to open the app module file. So I'm going to open the app module.ts and here you will see this random code which is generated by CLI. So I'm going to remove this one and just type here any name. It can be any name, so I am giving it a name counter. Now it is a name of our store. It means if we want to access our store, we have this key and we will write here what was the name of our reducer. I guess it was account, let's see what it was, reducer. Okay, it was counter reducer. So just copy this name and paste it here, press Ctrl dot and it will add this import section here. You can see that it has added this line here. Now we have successfully imported our reducer in our import array. Okay, so what we are going to do now, we're going to create a component here. So type here nggc components, and let's take is counter component. So it will create a component inside a components folder. Right now we do not have any folder components, but it will create for us eventually. And actually I have done a mistake here. I have created this state folder here, so I have to move it inside the app folder, and let's see, will it give us some error or not. Hopefully it will update. Let's just see what will happen. Okay, so we have moved this folder from outside the app to inside this app. So I need to change some references for that. I guess it haven't updated it. Okay, so let's see. Let me see. If I go there in the app component section, and I don't see any code here. Where is my code? Oh, it has thrown it from the state folder. Data tree node not found. Okay, I have completely messed with it. Yeah, we are fine. Now let's see that we need to modify any reference or not. So first thing, I'm gonna check it, everything is working fine or not. Okay, everything working fine. So what I basically did here, I have accidentally created the state folder inside this src folder, but I had to create it inside the app folder, so I have moved it from the src to the app. Now here is our state folder, and we have recently created this counter component, and we are going to work on this thing. So here, let's do some work. Right now we need something here which is called constructor, and it will take a parameter here, private. We're going to inject or store here, so just type here store. It will be type of store. When we press an enter button, it has created this line here, import store from ngrx dot store. Now let's make it strongly type. So inside here we're gonna pass our counter. So let me see what I have defined inside the app module. So it is, yeah, it is counter. So let's do the same here, counter. It will be a number. Okay, we are fine. Now we need to select a state here. So for that we need to define here an observable. It will be let's name it counter, which will be a type of observable. Okay, it is an observable of number equals to this dot. So why I am not able to access this store? Okay, let me see. Okay, so why it is not working? By the way, it is working now. So here we need to pass a key that we have defined here in app module.ts. So copy that key from here to here. So here it is our selector. With the help of this, we are fetching the data from the store component. So we are fetching the counter state from the counter. Okay, so that's it. Now let's see how we can. Okay, so let's see, let's define some more function here. So I'm going to define here add, just name it increment. Inside increment we will type here this dot is to dot dispatch. Now we are dispatching a action here, so our action is increment. So when we have typed here increment, it has added this line, or we can directly write here as counter actions. Okay, and we can also call it like this, counter actions dot increment, and we are just fine. So let's create another method here, just copy it, name it decrement. Let's name it decrement function, copy this guy and paste it here, name it reset, name it reset. Okay, so we have created these actions here. So now we are gonna define our user interface here. So let's type here, since it is an observable, our counter is an observable, so I'm gonna put a dollar sign here. It is a good naming convention for defining the observable. Now here just type counter, use, we have a dollar sign also, and use async pipe here. Now just put a breakpoint here and define 2 buttons here. Actually we are going to define 3 buttons here. So before that, let's do one more thing. Go to the browser and type here bootstrap 5. Okay, just include the bootstrap in our project. So we are going to move down. Here is our starter template. We can copy this link. Let's go our index.html file. So it is index.html file, paste that link here. One more thing we need here, this is script file, and we are good to go. So I'm gonna put this script file here at the bottom of body tag. Now we are good. We have successfully included bootstrap in our project. Now we can apply some CSS here. So just type here the div dot my3 copy this thing again, copy this guy here to here, and let's define some buttons here. So I'm gonna type here button. Actually let's type here button dot btn primary. That's good. Let's name it increment, and here define a click function which will be increment. So let's copy it 2 times. Now here will be your decrement and it will be your reset. So same thing goes here. We're gonna change it to decrement, and we are gonna change it to reset. It will be btn danger. Let's name it secondary. Okay, so let's see, is it even working or not? So open our browser and browser application, which is hosted in localhost 4200. Okay, so how we can access it? So let's open our app component, not module, app component. We're going to define here this thing, app counter. So just type here app counter. Now just copy it here. Okay, so why I am not seeing it here? Let me see what is happening here. Press Ctrl 12 and we have lots of error here. So I know exactly what is going on here. I do this mistake lots of time. I don't know how these things added here every time. I just don't know. So it might be the case. Let's see. Yeah, everything is working fine. Here is our default state that we have set, which is 0. Let's see why this. I guess it will be ORY secondary. No. Leave it as it is. Let's work here. So if I click on increment button, everything is working fine. If I click on the decrement function, everything is working fine. Even it is going to the minus points. If I click on reset, it will be reset to 0. So it is our bare minimum example of Ngrx store. Okay, let's correct this spelling mistake here. So it is here secondary. Okay, I guess we are fine now. Okay, so this is our bare minimum example of Ngrx store. So let's understand what even happening here. So first thing is here this 0. So how we are getting this 0 here? Getting this 0 which is stored in our component, which is stored in our Ngrx store. So we are getting this value from our store with the help of this selector. So go here in the component section. So here we are getting this value from this line. We are using a selector here, counter, which is a key of our reducer, which we have defined here in app module.ts. So basically we are accessing our state with this key. Okay, so we are accessing this counter state with the help of this selector method, and we are storing it inside this counter observable stream, and here with the help of async pipe we are displaying it here. Now we need to perform some actions on our state. In our case, we need to perform the increment action, decrement and reset, and here we have to create those actions. So first we have to define these actions, increment, decrement and reset, with the help of this create action method. And here it is our unique key, and you can define it just like this. It doesn't matter, it should be unique and it will not affect our project. Okay, but it's a good naming convention that counter, component, increment, these are our actions. So from the counter component we are dispatching these actions. So when we are clicking the increment button, this increment method is immediately dispatched. Okay, when this increment method immediately dispatched, then we are moving here in the reducer functions. So this reducer function is attached to that action which was increment. Here we are actually changing the state of our project. So if I type here state plus 4 and click on this increment function, it will increment by 4. So we are changing the state of our counter from the reducer function. So first we are clicking on this increment button. Now this increment button is dispatching an action which is increment. Then we are moving to its reducer function here, and we are changing the state by adding 1 to it. Same goes with the decrement and reset functions. I hope you understood that what is going on here. So now what you have to do, just write this code, whatever we have implemented, write it once, twice or thrice. It doesn't matter how many times you write it. Main thing is you have to write this code and digest all of these things that I have discussed right now. First, go to your project or PC, whatever you say it. So first you need to create a project, then you need to digest all of this code. You need to understand that what is happening here, what we are creating, why we are creating, and when we are creating, what is the correct order for creating our action, reducers and our selectors. So after that we will create some complex state management, so be ready for it. Since our application is growing, so we need to do some kind of routing in this application. So I'm gonna open the routing file, routing module. Here we are going to define some route. First route will be our what is it, counter. Sorry, it is an object which will take path, which will be counter. One more thing, it will take a component which will be counter component. Okay, here is one second one, counter component, and we will define a default path here for that. So okay, we are fine. So our default path will be the counter, so we have to write here redirect to counter. So it is our default path. Okay, now we are good. Now we have defined our paths. So open the browser and go there again, Bootstrap 5, and we need a navigation bar from there. So just go here, the component section, nav bar. Okay, so we need a nav bar here, just a simple one. So let's find a simple one here. So let's copy these things and let's create a new component for that. So I'm gonna write here, we need a new terminal for that. So just type here ng components / layouts and top nav. Okay, let's wait for it. Okay, so it is created. So open this guy. So I'm gonna press here Control P and just type here top nav.component.ts, and here we're gonna paste that code that we have copied earlier. And right now we do not need this thing, and even this thing. Let's name is Ngrx demo. Okay, it will be our home tab. That is fine. One thing more we have to do here, bg secondary. I guess it is dark and it is dark also. Okay, we need to remove this href from here. Fine. This active part from here, and router link active equals to active class, router link equals to blank. I'll just type here this. Okay, so let's copy this guy again, and here we are gonna define the counter. Fine. And now go to the app component file, remove all of these shit from here, and type here app top nav. Let's see, localhost 4200. Yeah, we are fine, but everything is dark here, so I guess I have did something bad. So let's remove it from here. I'm just experimenting something. Okay, so that was not a problem. Light dark was not a problem. The problem is we are not seeing any link here. Let's see why it is not happening. So let's open your console, and I am struggling a bit now. Okay, here is some error. Now move here, and I guess I have to write here path match full. Let's see. Yeah, we are good now. That was a mistake here. Okay, so we are good so far. So let's create another component here, which we are going to use in future. So let's create it right now. Ngrx, what should it name? Let's name it, I should name it product. So it will be component product. Let's wait a bit till now until it get completed. Let's open the routing module. So type here routing module. Let's define another route here, which will be products, and it will be a products controller, sorry, component. Okay, so let's define this path inside the top nav. So copy, let's do some copy paste here. So just copy this guy and paste this guy here, name it product. Okay, fine. Oh, it is products. Let's see, is it even working or not? Product works. Very good so far. Just one more thing here we need to do is app component.ts file. App component.ts file. Yeah, it is that file. So I'm gonna put it inside a container so that everything can be centralized. Okay, now everything is in center. Now we are good. Okay, so let's create some files here inside this, where it is state folder. So we're going to create another folder inside it. So let's name it what was the name of our component? I just forget. So it is product. Okay, so let's create an action here which will be product dot actions dot ts, and we are gonna create it inside a product folder. Okay, let's create another file here which will be product dot reducer dot ts, and another thing is here we're going to use a selector function in this section. So let's type here product dot selector dot ts, selectors dot ts. Okay, so we have created these three files, and what else we need? Nothing. So let's work on some actions here. We need basically three actions. One will be add, second will be remove, and I guess we need only two, add and remove. So let's create these two actions. So just type here const export, not const export, export const add product equals to create action let's name it product component add. Okay, so we are good so far. This product action, sorry, this add product need a prop. It means we need to pass some payload into this method. Means we need to pass some argument so that we can add our product to store. So it will be an object which we are going to pass. So let's type here props, good, and it will be an object, very good. We can directly pass here. So first thing we need to create an interface. So let's create an interface for that. So let's create a folder here which will be models. Inside that we're going to create that product dot model dot ts, export interface product id number, and let's name it string, id name price. That will be enough. So we are gonna pass here a product object. That's good. Let's copy this thing, paste it here, and name it to remove product, and let's name it remove product. We will do same thing here. And why we are getting error here, remove product. Okay, and this will take a string, so id string, and we cannot directly pass it like this, so we have to wrap up it inside an object. It will take an object which will contain a key id. That's it. So that's how we can remove the object from our store. So we have created our actions. Now we need to create the reducer function. So just go there and just type here import asterisk as product actions from product slash product actions. That's good. Now we need to create a reducer here, so type here product export const product reducer, create reducer and put a semicolon here. We're gonna type here on. Now we define an action. For that we are going to create this reducer. So first reducer will be product actions dot name of our action is product. Okay, now here we need to do some change that we haven't done in the previous one. Previous one we are just passing here the state, but it also need props. So if I hover my mouse here, we can say that here we are getting this selector, and why we are not getting anything here, because we haven't defined an initial state. So first we need to define an initial state here. Okay, so initial state, let's see, we need an array of products. Initially we need an array of product, so array of product will be our initial state. So just type here, it will be a product array. So product export, yeah, here will be const product, very fine, and it will be an array, very good, and it will be a blank array, very good. So we can also write here read only array, so that we cannot even accidentally change it. So it will be a read only array of product. Okay, so now if I click here, even I'm not getting suggestion right now because I haven't passed an initial state here. Okay, so let's see what we are getting right now. Not getting anything. Anyway, let's pass an object here which will be what it was. Let's go here. It is simply a product, so let's define it like this. It will be much more accurate. Product. Okay, so it will need a key here, the same key, product. Just copy this thing here and let's go here inside. Okay, put one more bracket here. Now since we are adding a product, it means we are just adding something into this state, product. So I'm getting lots of error here, so let's see. So first thing, I have done a mistake here. It would be a function, so I have to put these parentheses here. That's okay. Now just type here return, and let's remove these two things from here and we are good. If I do not remove this parenthesis and just remove this return, then everything should be fine. Okay, so we are good now. So what this function is basically doing, we are creating a new array here by using this state, this spread operator, and we are concatenating it with this product object. We are just creating a new state here by adding a new product here. Since it is a read only, we cannot push this thing into a initial state. So we cannot do that, and we are not allowed to do that inside the store. We have to create a new state every time. So here we are creating a new state by using the spread operator, and we are adding this product object into it. Okay, so now we need to define another method here, which will be product actions dot remove product. Okay, here it will also need a two parameter here. Second thing will be id, and here since this array is read only, it means we cannot remove any element from there. It means we cannot use a splice function. So how we can remove an element from there? We can simply filter our our product array like this, state dot filter, and just type here product dot id doesn't equals to id. So it will exclude this id from this state array and return that whole array. So here we are filtering our array and removing this id from there, removing this object from there with this id, and we are returning a new state. So here we are creating a new state. State is simply an array of read-only product. Okay, so do not get confused with this name. State is here read-only product. And how we are getting this read-only product? Because we have defined an initial state here, which is a type of read-only product. Okay, now we have created reducers. So we have created two reducer functions here, one for add product and another for remove product. Add product is simply creating a new state by spreading this state array and adding a product object to it. And how we are performing a remove function here? We are simply filtering this state array, which is a read-only array of product. We are filtering it by this functionality, we can say that. So we are filtering our state array and returning the new state to the store or to the user. So now we have done the reducer sections. Now we need to define selectors. So we haven't done it before. It is a new concept. So just type here const export const, and let's name it product state equals to create feature selector. Okay, name of our feature. Okay, but we are forgetting one thing. We need to register this product reducer. So for that we need to open our app module file, and simply we need to define another object here. So it will be products and reducer, product reducer. Now we have registered our reducer here, so we are fine now. And once again app module.ts. So copy this key from here, products, and go to our selectors, paste it here. So just type here export const product selector equals to create selector product state. And actually we are creating an extra selector, we might not need it. Okay, so we are fine, and I guess we can create a strongly type here. So it will be read only array, which will be type of product. So it is it. Now we can move to the component section. So just type here product component, it is here. Now we need few things here. First thing, we need a constructor, and we need to inject our store here. So private store and it will be products. It is a key that we have defined inside the app module.ts file. Products, it will be a read only array product. Press Ctrl dot, add this reference to the top, and we are good to go. Fine. What else we can do right now? First thing, we need here an observable of product. So it will be products equals to this dot store dot select, and we have created this selector. So copy this thing here, product state, press Ctrl dot, and it will add this line here. Okay, I guess we have our products right now. So let's test this thing first. Is it working or not? So I'm gonna remove it from here, div dot py3, and just type here products async dot, sorry, not dot, json. So let's see, are we getting any error or not? So initially we have a blank array, which is fine till now. So let's create a method here, add. But first let's create a proper structure here. So I'm going to create here table dot table stripped, okay, t head, fine, t body. Let's define here tr th id name price. Okay, let's paste it here, and before that we're gonna write here router outlet, okay, ng if product as, sorry, we need to write here async pipe, and it is a products as products. So now we can access these products. Now we can say that we have converted this observable stream into an array of object. Okay, so let's cut this guy and paste this guy here. Fine. Now we can apply a for each loop here. So I'm going to type here ng4 equals to let product of products. Here we can just type product.id. It will be td name and it will be price. Let's remove this junk. Okay, since we are getting an error here, let's see what it can be. Router outlet. It should not be router outlet, sorry. It should not be router outlet, it should be ng container. Okay, so again I'm getting an error here. So what it might be? Everything seems fine. We have this ng container here, div py3. So let's remove this table right now. Okay, so it means error is inside this table. Okay, if I remove this t head, t body, ng4 let product, this thing is product. Okay, so here double curly braces needed here, so just copy this curly braces. Fine, copy this guy, okay, product. Now we are fine. So let's check it here. Okay, so since we do not have any data here, so we're gonna add some data here. Let's create an add function here. So add product, and we are gonna enter a data from here. So let's name it add product, const product equals to id. It should be date dot now dot to string, and name should be product. Let's copy this thing and let's name it const rnd equals to this. Very good. rnd id equals to rnd, and remove it from here. So the second key here will be product plus rnd. Okay, one last thing here is price, and let's add a random price here, 100. So now we need to dispatch an action we have created here. So we need to dispatch this action here at product. So for that we are going to write here import asterisk as product actions from state dot product actions. Okay, so let's dispatch that action. So type here this dot store dot dispatch product actions dot add product, and it will need a key here which should be same name. If I change it to something else, let's see, let's change it to something else here. So let's name it to product 1. So if I write here product 1, then it will give me an error. So to remove that error, we can do it like this. But if it is the same as the key name like product, we do not need to create an extra key value pair. So just remove this thing. Fine. So it needs a object which contains this key product, and value of that key will be an object of product type. So it is simple, and we can do the same thing here with the remove product. It will need an ID string, and let's copy this guy here. It will be remove product, and here we will pass an ID. So here it is our remove function. So let's type another thing here which will be action. Okay, td. Let's define a button here. So button, okay, remove class equals to btn danger, click, and here again it has added this extra parenthesis, remove product dot id. Okay, spelling mistake. And we need another button here, somewhere here, not td column, just a button. And let's define another class here, py3, so that we can create some extra margin from top and bottom. And let's name it to add product. Add, it will be a primary color. So if I click on this add, it will add these products. Okay, and if I go here, you can see that state is maintained because our state is a global state that can be accessed from anywhere, and it won't get lost until you reset it. Okay, so let's click on this remove, and if we change the routes, that we can see that here that we are able to see all the data, but if I refresh this, it will be removed. So here everything is working just fine. It will be my, not py. Yeah, it is looking nice. So as you can see that our complex type of Ngrx store has been completed also. So let's understand what is happening here. First thing, we need to we need to define or display display is the correct word. We need to display some data in this product component. And from where we will get that data? We have that data inside our store, which is a product store. Okay, so for that we need a selector function that we have defined here. With the help of that selector function, we can access the data from the product store. Okay, so with the help of this selector function, we are selecting the data from the store. Now this data is stored inside. This data is returned in the form of observable, which we can store it in a product is observable. After that, we can simply display this data here. Now displaying the data has been done, which is quite simple. We need a selector and we need to call that selector. That selector will give us data from this store. Now we need to perform some operations like this. When I clicked on this add button, what it does? Simply, let's go here. When I click on this add button, it has invoked this method add product. After invoking this method, we are creating a random object of product, and we are dispatching an action here which is add product, and we have defined this action here, which is simply taking a payload as an object. It means you need to pass a object with type of object product. Okay, so we are passing a product type object here. So as you can see there, it is a object of product type. We are passing it as a payload here. That's why we have defined this props here, so that we can pass some data to our action. Okay, I hope you got understand here. Since we need to pass the data to this function, that's why we need to define a prop here, and we need to pass an object of product type. That's why we have defined here a product key with product object. Okay, so when we have dispatched this action, we will go here in the reducer function and we will get an reducer corresponds to that action, which is that product. So here we are simply modifying the state. Now we are getting this product payload, and we are recreating a state with the help of spread operator, and we are concatenating the product into this state. And same thing will happen with this remove function. When we click on this remove button, we will simply invoke this action. This action will dispatch a remove product action, which is taking a payload id, which is a type of string. Okay, and we have defined this action here, and here we can say it is taking a id as a payload. Now when this action is dispatched, we will move to the product reducer, and here it is the corresponding reducer to the remove product. We are simply removing the product from the array, since we cannot modify the state because it is immutable. You cannot directly change it, so we have to recreate a state here. So we are simply filtering our state. So we are filtering it like that. If we need a product, we need an array of product which does not contain this id. So we will exclude this id from the state array with the help of filter function. Okay, so that's how our remove product works. Now let's talk about this right section here, which is effects, and we can say that reducers are the pure functions. Means we are only managing our state inside the reducers. So if an action have a side effect, let's move to our project. Let's see what side effects can be here. So when I click on this add button, right now with this add button, we are just managing our state. It means we are just modifying the state by adding some data into it, and clicking on remove, we are just removing the data from the state. But what if we are also handling some APIs here also? It means when I click on the add, this data will be added on the store, as well as it will be stored into a database with the help of the HTTP services. So those things will be take care in the side effects methods. So reducers will handle the pure state management, and side effects will handle the asynchronous operations like HTTP requests. So for adding the HTTP request or managing the HTTP request, we have to create some effects. So that's what is the effects. Actually, when we will code, we will understand this thing more clearly, so do not worry about that. Let's see how we can install this thing. Let's go here in the installation, and let's copy this thing, open our terminal, paste this guy here, press enter. Yes, I want to install it. Okay, so it has installed. Now let's add a folder here. Let's do the same thing here. We need to create some files here. So first thing will be our user dot actions dot ts. Okay, and we need to create a folder here. So let's create a folder. User will be fine. So let's move it here. Very good. So let's create another file here, user dot reducer dot ts. Okay, one more thing, user dot selector dot ts, and we will also need a file here which will be user dot effects dot ts. Okay, now we have created the appropriate files. So let's open this thing and let's define some actions here. But before jumping to the state, we need to create some kind of REST APIs so that we can interact with our services. For that, I'm going to use JSON server. It is a quick way of creating web APIs. So first thing we need to install here is JSON server. So let's write here npm install JSON server. Meanwhile, we are going to create a db.json file in the root directory inside a API folder. So I'm going to write here API slash db.json, and here I'm just going to paste this code. So we have an array of users. First one is ID 1, then name John email at the rate whatever it is. So these three records I have created initially, and it is done. Okay, so let's do the work on APIs. Here it is our database, and it is the key for accessing database users. So let's close this thing, and here we're going to create another file, routes.json. So we are defining routes for our API. It means every route will start with API/API. It means our routes now will be like this: API/users. Okay, but if I don't define this routes.json file, then our routes will directly start like this. So let's close it for now, and now we need to open this package.json file so that we can type here this. So now we can access this command through this API key, and we can easily run this command, and we do not need to learn all this syntax. So what we are doing here, we are writing this command json server, and here is the path of our db.json file, and here is the routes that we are going to go through. No course equals to true. Now we can run our APIs by writing npm run API. Now I need to create one more file at the root directory. It will be proxy.conf.json file, and we will write this code here. So here it is the target for our APIs. Basically, when we run this project, it will run on localhost 3000 because it is created in the Node.js, and default path for Node.js application is this. Now we need to do one more thing here. Go to angular.json and find server. Okay, so here in the serve section, we are going to write some configuration here. So just type here options, and inside the options we are going to write this thing again, and here we have proxy config. So here we will type proxy.conf.json, which is the name of our file. Okay, so let's test that even these things are working fine or not. So let's see our Angular project is running or not. No, it is not running. So we're gonna do two things here. First, we will run our APIs. So I'm gonna type just npm run API. We have designed this API section here. You can see this API key contain this command. Press enter and our APIs will run fine. Now we can run it here. You can see everything working fine, and we can also run it with this API route. So if I type here API slash what it is users, even it is working fine. Now let's test this in our Angular application. So I'm gonna open one more console here and type here ngso, and we're gonna wait for it. So let's see until it's running. We can see here we have these APIs. These APIs supports all of these actions: get, post, put, patch, delete options. And here it is the official documentation of JSON server in the GitHub. Go and check out this if you don't know about this. It is an amazing thing you need for your projects. So let's test this thing here, API slash user. Okay, it's working fine. Everything has been set up. Okay, so now what we can do more. First, let's see what we have done so far regarding this users section. So let's go here, we have created user states, but we haven't defined anything here. And we have created, okay, we haven't created any component for that. So let's define few more things here. First, we are going to create services. Let's create component first. So components slash users. That's it. It will create a user component for us. After that, we will create a service, user service, and we will work on user service first. So let's create nggs services slash user. It will create a user service for us inside this application folder, app folder. Okay, you can see it here. So let's work on these services. So first we need to create an add user. So but before that, we need to inject HTTP client module. So go to the app module.ts file, and here we are going to inject that HTTP client module. So for that, we have to type here the import section, import HTTP client module from, and it resides under angular / common / HTTP. Okay, so let's import it here inside this import array. Now we can use the HTTP client module here, otherwise we cannot use it. So just type here private HTTP client module, sorry, not module, just HTTP, sorry, just HTTP client. Press control dot here, and it will refactor things for us. It has added this line here, and here E is missing. Okay, that's good. Now let's create some services quickly. First thing, we will create here add user, and it will take a user object, but we need to create an user interface first. So where is our model section? Here. So let's create user.model.ts. Let's create interface here. Export interface user model, not user model, user will be enough. First thing we will define here ID. Second thing we will define here name, which will be string, then email, which will also be string. Okay, that's good. Now it will take an object of user. After that we will write here return this dot http dot post, and we need a base URL here. So private base URL equals to API / users. That's good. So just type here this dot base URL, and this thing here, base URL / no, we do not need this, we are fine. User, that's it. It is add user. Same thing we will do here, get users, just simply return this dot http dot get this dot base URL. Okay, and one more thing we need to define here is the delete section. So delete user, it will take id which will be in not int number. Okay, press a backtick here, and here we will pass the id. So we need to put here $sign id, and it would be delete. Okay, so we have created our services: add user, get users, and delete users. That's fine. So now let's see here. Do we have created our controller component? Yeah, we have created a component. Now we will work on this state section. First we will define our actions. Okay, that's why I thought how this code come here. We have to go there in the user actions. Now we need to define some actions here. Let's see what we need here. First thing we need here, get users. So we need a action for getting users. We can say that load users. Then we need a load user success, load user failure, and we will do the same thing here. Add user success, add user failure, and same for the remove user. So we are going to create here multiple actions because you are going to use effects here. So when we call an add user or load user action, then it will have two effects: either it will be success or it will be fail. Same will goes for the add user section. When we add an user, it will have some additional effects, like either it will be failed or it will be success, and same goes for the remove user. So let's define some actions here. So let's start with load users. Export const load users equals to create action. Okay, remove these things. Create actions. Here we will define our key, which will be, let's see what we can do here. Users component at user. Okay, and it won't, sorry, it is a load users, and it will not take any props. That's fine. Let's create one more thing here, which will be load user success. Okay, load user success, and it will take a props here as a payload props, but it would just take an array of users. So it would be like this, and let's make it a read only users. Okay, that's good. Now we will do the same and create a load users failure. Load users failure, and it will take a id. So it will be take an id with number. Okay, so let's create here one more action. It will be add user, but this add user will take a props, and it will take an object of user type. Okay, so why we haven't defined a prop here? Because this method is going to be called from the component, and this method will load data from the web API, so it won't take any data from the user end, so we do not need any prop here. But here this method will be dispatched from the component, and it will accept a payload from the user end, which will possibly come from the form submission. So when user submit a form, this method will be called, and that whole object will be passed to this method. Okay, let's create one more method here. It will be add user success, user component add user success, and it will take the same props. That's good. Let's create one more, add user failure, ID number, add user failure. Okay, so do the same with remove user. Actually this thing will make more sense for removing user. So let's change it to remove user. Okay, so here I'm doing something wrong, so it will be error type of any. That's it. Same goes here for this failure. Okay, so first let's remove a failure from here. This method will be remove user, and change it to remove user. Okay, so it will take an ID as a parameter or payload. Just change it to user success, user component remove user, and change it here to success. Okay, copy this thing and paste it here. It will be failure. It will take an error object, so let's define to type any and change it to failure. Okay, so I guess we are good here. Maybe there will be some error in future, so we will refactor this thing in future if we find any error, because I have copied lot of content from here and there, then it might be error prone. Okay, we will see it in future. So let's move to the reducer function here. This time we are going to define some complex state. It will just not take any array, it will take some more properties. Like here define, so let's name it user state. That's it. Okay, it is an interface. Sorry for mistake. Let's see what we can define here. First thing, it will need a key, users. It will be a type of array. or let's define it as a read only array user. That's it. Next thing, we will have this loading, which will by default false. One more thing, we have loaded, which will be false. Next thing, let's see what we can have here. Users loading loaded, and one more thing we need here, an error state. It will be null by default. So this is our user state. Okay, now we need an initial state for us. So let's define here export const initial state equals to, it will be type of user state equals to, let's see, first thing, I have done a terrible mistake here. It should not be like this, it should be like this, boolean, and it will be boolean, and it will be any. Okay, now we will define that thing here. So it will be like this, users equals to, users will be empty, loading will be false, loaded will be false, error will be null. It is our initial state. So let's create a reducer first. Export const initial, user reducer equals to create reducer on, and we need some actions here. So I'm just gonna write here import asterisk as user actions from user actions. Now we can access all the actions from this thing. So first, but before that, we need to pass initial state here. So it will be our initial state. Okay, now on, very good, user actions dot add user. Let's define first for the load users. Okay, load users. Now it will need any state, and it doesn't need any payload. And let's see, we will just return this state from here. So just type here state, and here we will just do a loading true. So when this action will be called, this load users actions will be called, it will return the current state with one more state, which is loading equals to true. Okay, so we will create another action here. It will be load user success, but it will take a prop because it needs some data, and this method will be called when we hit a web API. So when we get a result from the web API, that result will be passed to this action. So it will take a prop which will be users. Okay, everything will be same, but loading will be false. Now loaded will be true because we have loaded our data, and we will add this books here. Sorry, books, not books, users here. And let's create one more action, one more reducer, which will be failure for the load user. What will happen in the failure? First of all, it will take a prop. So what prop it will take? Let's see. It is taking this error of any type. We will define here error, and rather than user we will pass here error. Loading was false, loading will be false, and we will remove this loaded section. We do not need it. Okay, so now let's define one more action here for the add user. On add actions, user actions dot add user, and this add user will take a state and one prop. Okay, now what we will go return from here, we'll return just simply this state. Okay, and we will add this user to it. Loading will be true here. That's it, nothing else will change here. I guess it's not right, so I'm gonna think about it for a while. So I'm just going to comment it for now. So let's comment it for now. Okay, so now I got it. So what we are doing here in this action, when user dispatch action, this add a user action from a component, it will pass some object with this key user. Now this user object not going to be added in the array. So we will just true this loading here, and loaded will be false here. Nothing else will be changed here. So let's define the other function, which is called add user success. And in this section we will modify the users array. Okay, and let's just write here users array will not modify here. So we will add this user object into the users array. Everything else will not be same. So here loading will be set to the false, loaded will be set to the false, sorry, true, it will be set to the true. Now we will pass one more key here, which is users, and it is the array, and we are adding the user object in the previous state of users. Okay, so if you are following this tutorial from the start, you have a bit sense about it, what it is going on here. Okay, so let's define one more function here for the failure. So in the failure we will get id failure, add user failure. We will get this id, let's see. Okay, sorry, not id, we will get an error object here, and loading will be false here, loaded will be false here, error, we will pass an error object here. That's it, nothing else will happen magically. Okay, so add users section had done. Now we will define the reducer for remove user. We're gonna pass here state, and it will take an ID. We will change the loading to true here, and nothing else will happen here. So let's see, let's copy this thing, and we are good. Now let's define here remove user, and here we will actually change the state of users array. So state here and loading true, loaded false, loading will be false also. Now here we will filter our array, so users equals to, and okay, not users, state dot users dot, and why it is not working, let me see. State has this property users, so first of all let's make it little bit more readable. Okay, so now let's do it like this. Users will be state dot users dot filter a dot id doesn't equals to id. That's it. It is our remove user success method. Now we will do something with remove user failure method. So define here user actions dot failure remove user failure. It will take on, sorry, not on, it will take some parameters here, state, and it will take one more thing, this object error any. So just pass here the error. Okay, now let's do this. Loading will be false, loaded, sorry, loaded have been defined, loading will be false and loaded will be true here. Loading false, loaded true here, loading true, loaded false. Okay, here loaded also false, loading also false. And nothing. Okay, one more thing, error. That's it, nothing else will be changed here. So it is our reducer function. We need to define it in the app module sections. So go to the app module, and let's define it here. So just type here the user state user reducer. User state will be fine. Okay, we are done here. Now let's see what we can do. We have defined actions, we have defined reducers. Now we have to define either selectors or effects. Let's see what should we define first. So let's define the effects first. So we need to write few effects here. First effect will be on load user action method. Another effect will be written for the add user and one for remove user. So let's define these things. So first thing, let's see. So let's define effects here. So effects are just defined inside a normal class, which is just like a services. So if it is just like services, then we need to write this decorator here, which is injectable. Now we are good. So let's type here export class. Let's name it user and it is effects, user effects. Good, not good. Now it's good. Now we need to define some reducers here, not reducer, effects here. First thing will be load users, and it is an observable. And let's write here create effect. Okay, let's see what it is asking for us. Source, effect, result, and etc, etc. So let's type here the of type, and for that we need to do one more thing here. We need to import all the actions as user actions from users dot user actions. So it will be a type of action dot load user, sorry, not action, user actions dot load users. Okay, so let's make it a little bit more readable, and we should not define it like this, we should define it like this. But before that, let's comment this thing here. We need a constructor and we need to import some service here. So just type here constructor. We need to inject two services here. First one will be private actions. It will be a type of actions. That's it. And one more service we need here is our user service. User service. It will be a type of user service. So that's it. We need to inject these two services here because we are going to use them here. So now we can write here this dot actions dot pipe. Now we will write this thing here of type users dot load actions, sorry, load users, comma. Now what we need to define here, we need to define here switch map or merge map. So let's define here switch map. Okay, so inside this switch map, so let's remove these braces from here, we do not need it. Now inside from this switch map we need to call our service, which is a user service. So let's type here this dot user service dot this dot user service dot get users, and we're gonna use one more pipe here. We need a map function here. and with the help of this map function we are gonna call the not user actions dot load users success load user success method, and it will need us data which we will get from here. So just name it users, so pass it here users, and I know it is getting confusing, but once I write this whole function I will explain it. And inside the catch error method we are gonna call the failure function of this load user. So just type here catch error 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 and just call user actions dot load error failure, and it will need an object like this error, and it is an object, and I guess it is also an object here, and we need to convert it to the observable. So I guess I am finished, but I am getting lots of error, so let me see where I am missing something. So I'm getting very confused here where I'm wrong. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just going to commit this thing and going to write it again. So first thing we will create here this load user equals to create effect, and let's type it here again, this dot actions dot pipe. Okay, now we need this of type user actions dot load users. Okay, so after that I'm gonna write here this switch map statement, switch map operator. So here we are opening the switch map and closing it. Inside the switch map we are going to call this service dot pipe map users get users dot pipe map. In this map we will get data from our service. Okay, so it is our map users. Now we will call a success function here, so user actions dot load user success. We will pass users here, and let's close this map here. Oh man, I'm getting errors. Catch error error, and here I'm gonna return an observable of user actions dot load user failure. Here I'm gonna pass this error object, and here I'm gonna pass this users object, and nothing seems fine here. It means all of this effort got in vain. Okay, now I have gone to off recording and I have found a solution of this, and I know that what mistake I was doing. So let me see. First of all, Few things I was missing here. I haven't imported this off and haven't imported this map, even though it is not correct. What I need to do here, we need to create an anonymous function from here, and it will return this. And one mistake more, it expect us a read-only array, but we are getting a normal array from here, so we have to convert it to the read-only array. So I'm gonna write this here, so we will convert it into a read-only array. So let's type here users as read-only array of user, press enter, and we are fine now. So there was a lot of confusion and I got stuck there. Now I have solved this. So if you got stuck, you can copy this code from my GitHub repository. I will push it there. You can find this code there. Okay, so now we need to create two more methods, one for the add user. Let's type here create effect and return this dot action dot pipe, fine, of type user actions dot add users, and we have a payload in this method, so we are going to use that payload here. So type here what payload we have here. We have this user. Okay, so we can copy this user here, user. Okay, now inside the switch map we are going to call this dot user service dot add user, and this add user take an object which will be a user here, and let me see, why is it yelling at me? Okay, maybe we need to pass it like this, but do we? I don't think we don't have to pass it like this because it's a service. Anyways, so let's move ahead, and this dot user service dot add user dot pipe. Now we will use this map function so that we can call the load add user success function here. So inside the map we will get something here like user, and let's see, let's type here user actions dot add user success, and it need a user object from us. So again it is yelling at me, I don't know, let it save it for future. Okay, so now in the catch error section we will call the failure method. So actions user actions dot add user failure, and here we are going to pass not this error, we are going to pass this error. Okay, and again I have stuck into an error. Okay, so we need to convert it into a observable. Everything seems fine except this one. So what it is asking for me, argument of type user and type user and so let me read it. ID, name and email. Okay, so okay, now I got the error here. So if we check here, this add user action, it is passing as an object which have a key user, and we have to use that key. So let's name it payload. So it will be payload dot user, and same thing goes here, payload dot user. Oh, user will be payload dot user. I guess we are fine now. Okay, so just copy this thing and modify it for the remove user. Remove user, create effect, action pipe, remove user, and here in the payload we are getting the ID. So it will be remove user service dot delete user, payload dot ID, remove user success, and what it is asking for us, ID number. Okay, and change it to remove user failure. So here we have this of type remove user, switch map payload, this dot user dot delete user, passing this ID here, mapping this thing, map this, and we are not getting anything from this user, maybe. So just name it to data. Here also the data. Okay, now let's see what is happening here, why we are using this switch map. First we are calling this user service which will return us an observable, and this action is already an observable. Okay, so we are calling an observable from the observable. It means we are creating an observable of observable. So we need to flatten this thing. To flatten this thing we need a switch map operator, so that we can convert that observable of observable into a single observable. So you need to learn about the switch map or merge map operator so that you can understand what it's functioning. Once you understood the switch map, you will understood what is going on here. So inside here we are calling this get user method from the user service, and why we are using here the map and catch error, because we want to call this function or load user action method and load users failure action method. How we can call it? One way is that we can subscribe this user service, and inside that subscription we will call this function on success and this function on failure. But now we are not able to return an observable from there, so we cannot subscribe it here. So we need some kind of hack. For that we're going to use the map operator. In this map operator we will get the value of this get users success. Okay, so whatever value we get on the success of this get user method, we will get that value here in the map user. When get user method is a success, we will get this users. Okay, and we will call this load user success method and pass that users as a payload. But when this method is not a success, it means we are gonna move into the catch error section, and we will pass this error object into the load users failure method. Okay, and this load user success and failure is handling here. So here we have defined load user success and failure. What will happen on load user success? We will modify our state, and whatever data we are getting as a payload, we will add into the user array, and our state will be changed here. And on load error failure, we are not changing that much thing here. We are just changing this loading state to the false. Okay, and we will understand it later once we completed this. So we will go through all of this again. Do not focus that much right now, just follow along me, and we will do the things later. Okay, so we have completed our effects. Now what else we need here? We need to define our selectors here. So first, let's define here export const user state, and with this selector we are gonna get the whole state. And what is our whole state? Let's move here. So as a whole state, we will get this object. Okay, in the whole state we will get the user array, the loading, loaded, and error as a whole object. So it is our whole state. As a whole state, we will get the object of this user state. So let's get it here. So type here create feature selector. Inside that we have to go here app module.ts. Let's see what we have defined here. It is our user state. Okay, so copy that user state here. Now we have our user state. We can create the parts of effects, parts of state. Now we will get parts of state, and just type here it is a whole state example. Let's copy this thing here. So our whole state will be like this. It will be an object which will contain these keys: users of array, loading, boolean value, loaded, a boolean value, and error of any value. Okay, so we need to create another states, or sorry, not states, some other selectors here, because we do not need a whole state every time. Maybe at some point I need the array of users only. At some point I need this loading so that I can display a loading spinner there, and some point I need this error message. So all of these chunks can be accessed through the chunks of states. So let's see how we can access those chunks. To access those chunks, we have to define some other selectors. So we're gonna type here user, let's see, select user. Okay, so select users equals to create feature. Inside this we are going to pass this user state. Okay, so now we're going to pass here an anonymous method, and we will return simply state dot, let me see, why, okay, create feature selector, not create feature, it is a create feature selector. So let me see, return state, let's see, user state so can we do it like this? User state, where it is? User state. Okay, now can we get it? Return state dot users. Okay, so I'm doing some error here, so let me think. What am I missing here? Let me see. Let's define it strongly typed. So I'm gonna write here user state. Okay, state dot. Okay, now I'm getting it, but again I'm getting an error here, and it should not be feature selector, it should be create selector. So here is the error again. So that was the error. I was using create feature selector here again, but that should be selector. So I can remove this thing here, that also fine. Now I can remove this return from here also. Now it is nice and clean. So let's move it here. Okay, let's put a semicolon. So if let's see, let's change its name to select user state, it make more sense. Here it is the whole state, and here we are getting the, here we are getting the users array. Okay, now here let's fetch loading selector. So let's fetch loading here. So just copy this guy, paste it here, and let's change its name to select loading. Here we will return loading. Same thing, create another select loaded, return loaded, select error, and return error. Okay, so that's it, that is it here. So we have created all the selector. It is the whole selector which will fetch us a whole state, means it will fetch us this whole object. Now this selector will fetch only this loading state, next one will fetch only this loaded state, and the next one will fetch only the error state. Now we have done the selector part. Now we can go to the app module.ts, and here we have to pass something here inside this effect module.for root. So we have to pass here the name of effects. So let's see what it was. It was user effects. So just passed here user effects. Now we are good. So go to the user component, but before that let's define some route here. So just go here, routing module, and let's copy this guy, we'll type here users, user component. Good. Now let's move to the top nav. Here just copy this guy one more time, and here just you type users. Okay, and here users. That's fine. So let's see in the browser. So let's go to the browser, and here we can see that our user section is working fine. So let's work on this right now. So what we need here, first things, let's type here implements on init. Maybe we need it. Next thing, we need the constructor, and we need to define that ng on init method. Good. Now let's inject that store here, private store, and it was a store. Okay, so let's test it one by one. First thing, what we are gonna do here, just type here the users equals to this dot store dot select, and control P selectors, user selectors. And copy this one, select users, go there, press control dot, press enter, and it will add this line here. Okay, so I guess we have selected users. Now what we have to do here, we just have to call a method. So we're going to dispatch and type here import asterisk has user actions from state user actions dot load users. Okay, so let's see everything is working fine or not. To check that, let's go here, press F12, and nothing is happening in browser console. So how we can fetch the record from the users? So just type here users, and here the async pipe json. I forgot to put a $sign here. So let's see. Okay, so we are getting these things here perfectly. So let's do one more thing here. Just type here loading, loaded, error, and we can check it. We can copy this select loading from here. Okay, so let's do the same thing for this. So let's select asterisk as user selectors user selectors dot select users. Okay, no error so far. So do the same thing here. User actions dot loading, not user actions, user selectors dot select loading, user selectors dot select loaded, and select error. Select error. Right now, let's go here to the service section, and here let's add a pipe here of delay. So I'm gonna deliberately delay it. Okay, so now here let's just type here div ng if loading async then type here loading. So let's see. Okay, you can see the loading message here. Okay, and if I type here div class div asterisk ng if loaded dollar. Okay, so no, this condition is not working here, so that's fine right now. So let's create a table here. So let's type ng container here, ng container. Inside that ng container we are going to define our table. So right now we can define it like this: ng container ng if users async as users. Now we can loop to this users array. So type here table class equals to table stripped t head tr th id name email action. Okay, so define here t body section, and here I'm going to type tr. We are going to loop here, so ng for let user of users, it should be small u. Now let's type here td and define user.id. It would be user dot name, it would be user dot email, and here one more td. Inside that we're gonna add a button. So let's see td, and inside that we are gonna create a button with class btn danger Yeah, that's the power of emit in VS Code. Now let's name this button. It will be a remove. Okay, and let's define a click. And I don't know why always this parenthesis added here. It's a mystery for me, and it always gives me error. That's it. We're not gonna define anything here, so just create a random method here. Remove user. It will take ID, which will be a number, and inside this we are gonna dispatch the user actions. We are going to dispatch this remove user. It will take this ID. Very good. We have defined the remove user functionality also. Okay, so why we are getting error here? Now we are good. We have defined it very neat and clean manner. So let's type here h2 users. Okay, now let's create a button here. So type here div dot, and let's give it a class py, not py, my2. Inside that we will create a button with class btn primary, and let's name this button to add more. Let's create the add functionality, but we will create it later. First let's check it how it is going here. So everything is working fine. We have 3 records from the database. Okay, so let's add one more here. So let's create the add user functionality. Add user. So I'm gonna create a dummy data here. You can also create a form here, and you can do it in a proper manner, but I'm not gonna do here because it will take too much time. So just create here the random user equals to id4, name equals to, let's type my name, email equals to acv.com, const user. So why am I getting error here? Const user. I guess I have to add this user. Now we are good. Okay, so what we need to do here, can you guess? We're gonna dispatch a add user function from this tool. So type here this dot store dot dispatch user actions dot add users user user. Okay, we are looking good. So call this method here. Click. Yeah, now I have removed this error. So I just need to type here click. Okay, what I was doing before, I was typing this click, and then I was selecting this, and I was getting this extra parenthesis. So if I type here it like this, I won't get that extra parenthesis. Oh my goodness. So let's try to add this thing here, and it has added this thing. Okay, and you can see the loading message here again, and it won't add the same thing again because of the ID problem. It won't add same ID again and again in database. So if I need to add one more record here, I need to change its ID. So let's change name also, ID also. Let's add this guy. Okay, so we have added it. Let's remove it, and we are getting error on removing. It's saying that this base URL not found. Obviously it not found, so go to the user service and solve this error. Yes, we are good now. So let's remove this thing. Okay, so now you can see that these changes are persistent also. So we have added these records to the database as well as store, and we are managing this from database and the Ngrx store. So let's see what is happening here. Let's understand the things. First thing here, that how we are getting this data here. For getting this data here, we need a selector. So we have created multiple selector here so that we can get the multiple pieces of state, because our whole state is like this. It is an object containing multiple keys. Either we can access the whole state and manage it at the component end, or we can create pieces of state, which is much more cleaner. So we will create first the whole state. Now we will create these pieces. We will create the pieces of state here. First piece will be select user, which will select us this user array. Second thing will select us the loading. This one select us the loaded, and this one select us an error. Okay, so when we go here, we need to fetch data. For fetching data, we need a selector. We need to call that selector. So when I write this line will select or fetch data from the store. Now I have stored data in this user stream, so I can get data from this user stream by subscribing it, or by using just this async pipe here. So I'm just using here the async pipe so that I can subscribe the user's observable, and it will automatically unsubscribe it. So we do not need to worry about memory leakage. Now here we need to add a data to the store and to the database also. So when I click on this add button, it will add data to the store as well as to the database with the help of web APIs. So when I click on this button, first thing it will do, it will add this data to the store, and it will call a side effect method that is handling the HTTP methods, HTTP request. Okay, so when I click on that add user button, it will invoke this method add user, not this one, sorry, this method. It will invoke this method. Inside this method, we are simply invoking the add user action. So after calling this action method, we will go here to the reducer, and we will go into this load user, sorry, not load user, this add user method. But this add user method have effect also. You can see that we have defined the effect for this add user method. So when we get data from the user end, that data we will use for passing to the web API. So here we are getting the data from the user end with the help of action method, and we are calling this add user method of user service here, and we are passing that data. So this payload dot user we are getting from here. So we are passing this data here, and we are accessing this data here, and we are passing this data to the user service. When user service is success, then we are calling this method add user success, and it is doing its job. You can go to the reducer function and you can see what it is doing. So this success method is just adding this object to the previous state and returning a new state. Now if that user action, sorry, where are our effects here? So if we fail, then it will call this method and it will simply return an error message from here. So that how our add method is working. So let's see again how this is working, this loading mechanism working. So here, let's go to the component here. First thing, we have to call this, okay, it is a selector, so that we can get the state of users. Now here we are dispatching the load user function. The load user function we are dispatching also have an effect. You can see here we have defined an effect for this load user action, and when a load user action is called, its side effect also been called. So inside here we can see that after calling this load user mechanism, side by side this asynchronous call will also happen. So this thing will happen asynchronously, and here what we are just doing, we are just fetching the data from the user service, and on a successful fetch we are calling this load user success method, and we are passing the get user data to it, and on the failure we are calling this load users failure method and passing another object to it. Same thing goes to the remove user. I know it's much complicated and I was not able to properly make you understand, but once you implement all of these things what I have discussed and defined here, so let's do some practice. So you need to do some practice. After doing some practice you will get some idea what is going on here, otherwise you are not going to get that much idea about what is going on here. So go there, pick all of these things, write all of these code by yourself and do some practice. After a few days you will definitely know that what is going on here. Then you will find the store is not that much complicated that it was look like. So it's how our effects works with Ngrx. If you find this video helpful, then please hit that like button. I will see you next time.